I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 12th at 7 p.m. We all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for a moment of silence after the pledge. Thank you. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Valles. Present. Commissioner Menifee. Present. Commissioner Castellanos.
Present.
Commissioner Blackburn. Present. Chairman Holtz.
Present. Before we get to the approval of minutes, I'd like to welcome some students that are here from Cal Poly Pomona. Is that right? Welcome. Okay. Approval of minutes from regular meeting October 22nd. Any changes or additions? None? Do I have a second? I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Brings us to oral communications. This is a time when any member of the public may speak to the Commission on any matter within the scope of duties assigned the Commission relating to non-agendized or consent calendar items. Other matters, excuse me, other matters included on this agenda may be addressed when that item is under consideration. For all oral communication, the chairperson may impose reasonable limitations on public comments to assure an orderly and timely meeting. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the Planning Commission and staff's ability to respond to public comments at this meeting. Thus, your comments may be agendized for a future meeting or referred to staff. The Commission may ask questions for clarification if desired at this time. By policy of Commission, oral communications at this time on the agenda is limited to a total of 10 minutes. Persons who are not afforded the opportunity to speak at this time may do so under item E later on the agenda. Do I have anybody wish to speak oral communications? Seeing none, take us to the consent calendar. And I understand we have one item on a consent calendar that's been pulled forward, and that's conditional use permit number 11-13. The applicant is Grace Chinese Alliance Church, location 2133 West Garvey Avenue. And I believe this is an extension of time. Is that correct? Anybody have any questions or suggestions? Okay. Do we have a roll call for approval then? Or?
We just have a motion and a vote.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Passes 5-0. Brings us to public hearings. Conditional use permit number 13-12, administrative use permit number 13-46, categorical exemption. Applicant is Paulina Chu at 2835 Muir Woods Court. The request is for construction of a 470 square foot first floor addition and a 417 square foot second floor addition along the east side of an existing 4,900 square foot two-story house, including an 884 square foot attached garage. The proposed house will be 5,793 square feet, including the 884 square foot attached garage. The applicant is also proposing a 360 square foot balcony along the rear north side of the existing residence. May we have the staff report, please?
Planning Assistant Amy Davis will be presenting that report.
Good evening, Chairman Holtz. Good evening, Commissioners. The applicant is proposing a 476 square foot first floor addition and a 417 square foot second floor addition along the east side of an existing two-story house located on a 19,280 square foot lot. The house will be 5,730 square feet, which includes an 821 square foot attached 4-car garage. The applicant is also proposing a 360 square foot balcony along the rear elevation of the residence. A conditional use permit is required for a large home. Additionally, an administrative use permit is required for balconies that are in excess of 200 square feet. The subject property is located in the South Hills section of the city in an area of varied topography. The subject property is located on Muirwoods Court, which is a cul-de-sac and is accessible via Hillside Drive. The subject property is surrounded by other two-story homes located on large lots. The first floor of the house will include a living room, family room, kitchen, dining room, laundry room, sunroom, one bedroom, two bathrooms, and a home theater. The second floor will consist of a master bedroom with a bathroom and a study, two additional bedrooms, two additional bathrooms, and a den, bonus room, and a gym. The proposed balcony will be located along the rear elevation of the house and will be accessible from the second floor master bedroom and gym, as well as via an exterior spiral staircase. For properties with a lot area under 20,000 square feet, the maximum allowable unit size is 3,999 square feet, or 35% of the lot area, whichever is less. In this case, the maximum allowable unit size for the subject property is 3,999 square feet. The house with the proposed addition exceeds the maximum allowable unit size by more than 25% and therefore is considered a large home. Staff conducted a survey of 22 lots surrounding the subject property and includes homes on Muirwoods Court, Foothill Drive, and Mountain Ridge Road. All of the homes are two-story, ranging in size from 3,649 square feet to 5,101 square feet. At 5,730 square feet, the subject house will be 1.35 times larger than the average house in the surveyed area. The existing house has been designed primarily with a hip roof form and features concrete roof tile. The proposed addition incorporates a hip roof form and concrete roof tile as well. The existing house and proposed addition will feature stucco exterior siding. The proposed two-story addition requires review by the subcommittee for design review. The subcommittee reviewed the proposal on October 22nd, 2013, and determined that the design of the second-story addition was in compliance with subcommittee guidelines. Staff has included a condition requiring the applicant to modify the gym windows proposed along the east elevation to clear story to reduce privacy impacts on the adjacent residents to the east. Additionally, staff also included conditions requiring the applicant to add window treatment to all existing and proposed second-story windows and to indicate the parkway width on construction plans that are submitted for plan check review. The proposal is considered to be categorically exempt pursuant to Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act. And staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit 13-12 for the proposed first floor and second floor addition. And staff is also recommending that the Commission adopt a resolution approving administrative use permit number 13-46 for the proposed 360 square foot balcony. This concludes my report. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I just have one question that comes to mind on page, let me find it here, on page 3, in the middle where you've got the graph. It says the house as proposed would be 1.35 times larger than the average size of the surrounding surveyed homes. And then in page 5, in the conclusion, you say the proposed house would not be significantly larger than the other houses surrounding it. Isn't 1.35, isn't that quite a bit larger than?
Well, that's a subjective. I think from what we've seen over the past, that may not necessarily be a great. We've had them as many as 1.75 times the
Okay.
size. So that's our standard for judging. But you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So.
Well, I know the homes up there, or some are very large, but I just was wondering if that was just kind of a.
It's a very subjective statement.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Velez?
Yes, I have a question in regards to the balcony. You know, going back, I think it's page 4. On page 4, you go back on it, paragraph 6. and it goes on to say about the area predominantly one-story addition, but on it, because she's building a balcony on it, and then you stated that in this areas, balconies in the rear yards are discouraged. Why? And then if they're discouraging, then why are we allowing a balcony that size?
So the numbered items there are the subcommittee guidelines. So that's the subcommittee guideline. That's a guideline no matter where the house is in the city. And then what's past that is a discussion of this property. So in that situation, yes, in flatland, so in an area that is predominantly one story, the addition of a second-story balcony, especially in a flatland neighborhood, can have an effect on privacy. In these areas, balconies in rear yards are discouraged. But in this one, the surrounding area consists primarily of two-story houses, and the proposal includes a 360-square-foot balcony along the rear elevation that is set back considerably from the rear property line due to the topography of the lot. So the point that we're trying to make there is, yes, it is discouraged in flatland neighborhoods. This is not a flatland neighborhood. It's discouraged in areas where it's predominantly one story. This is not predominantly one story.
Right, thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Blackburn?
I just wondered what the status was of the administrative use permit and the conditional use permit. Have they been applied for? Have they been?
Yes, that's the application before you tonight.
Okay, but it hasn't been submitted. Has it been submitted to the planning department?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? Did we send out any notices to the neighbors? Or is that not required in this case?
That is required. It's a 300-foot radius to all owners and occupants.
Did we get anything back from any of them?
No calls or written responses,
Okay, thank you.
negative or positive.
There were 33 notified.
Okay, thank you. No one else? Okay, we'll close the public, wait a minute, is there anyone that wants to come here and speak in favor of the project?
I'm not sure, we did have some calls from applicant today having trouble with their transportation here, so we weren't sure if they were going to make it or not.
Okay,
It appears that they have not.
okay, so nobody wants to speak in favor. Does anybody want to speak in opposition to the project? No? Okay. We'll close the public testimony and have commission discussion. Who would like to start?
I'd be
Commissioner Menifee.
I had some of the same concerns that I've heard voiced here tonight as I was reading the documentation, but when I visited the property and saw the size of the lots, the size of the homes that were in the neighborhood, and realized that this particular piece of property sits on two streets from one street to another, it really made me feel that comfortable with what I had gone through in terms of the plans. So I would really say that this meets my standards for what I'd like to see in what will, I think, be a wonderful improvement.
Commissioner Blackburn?
When I went up and looked at the property, big homes, big pieces of property, I think it would go along with my fellow commissioners. I think it'd be a great asset to the area, and hopefully it'll be approved.
Commissioner Castellanos?
I agree. It's a big lot. There was no response from the neighbors noticed, and I think the addition is going to raise the value of the home and surrounding homes, so I like it.
Commissioner Velez? Nothing? Okay, I agree with my fellow commissioners. It's large homes up there, and they're very nice, and I'm sure that the way they're going to do it is going to be a value added up in that property area. And I don't really see, because of the way it's laid out, that there's going to be any privacy issues, even with the balcony. So I'm in favor of the project. So any other comments from Commission? Okay. Can we read the resolution numbers, please?
Sure, there are two resolution numbers. The first one for the conditional use permit will be 13-5539, And the second one for the administrative use permit will be 13-5540.
Okay, can we do them both at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion? Any other comments before we make a motion? None? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move approval of 135539 and 135540.
Okay. Second by Blackburn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay. Very good. That brings us to non-hearing items. Study session, Code Amendment number 13-05, donation drop boxes.
Give me 1 second to set up the PowerPoint.
Okay?
This is a code amendment that was initiated by the Planning Commission on July 9th, 2013. It's Code Amendment 1305, and it has to do with donation drop boxes. These boxes are normally placed in parking lots, and the ones placed in parking lots in the city of West Covina have been installed without approvals from the city. They are placed there to allow for donations of items such as clothing, shoes, and toys. Donation drop boxes are placed by agencies with that are both nonprofit and, or let me say that differently, that are both nonprofit and for-profit. So not all the donation boxes are placed there for nonprofits or by nonprofits. Some of them are for-profit. Because the boxes are primarily unattended, they have a variety of nuisance issues, including graffiti, debris piled up around the box when they are full. So we have some examples on the photos before you of some of the drop boxes that were located within the city. And again, most of these have been removed at this point. Under the West Covina Municipal Code, donation drop boxes are not specifically defined, but we have worked with the Attorney's Office and determined they can be classified as small collection facilities, which is more like, was created for recycling centers. And that requires the approval of an administrative use permit. Small collection facilities are only allowed on properties with markets greater than 30,000 square feet. Staff has noted that donation drop boxes were located in approximately 15 locations around the city, and none of which had approvals. And we did have code enforcement action on those. Most of the drop boxes at this point have been removed. We have one unique type of drop box in the city, which is an attended or manned drop box, and that one is located in the Westfield Shopping Center near Applebee's. Some of you may have seen that. And that one's a little bit different because there is somebody, and you can see in the picture there's somebody that mans it, cleans up and makes sure that it's put together before they leave at night and in the mornings when they come in. Based on recent experiences with donation drop boxes, staff believes that they have been a blight, a drain on city resources, and are improperly maintained by their owners. Therefore, staff is recommending the following changes to the municipal code. 1, create a definition for donation drop boxes that is distinct from small collection facilities. 2, clarify that these types of unmanned facilities are not allowed in the city, basically prohibit unmanned donation drop boxes. And then 3, allow manned or attended drop boxes with the approval of an administrative use permit, including many of the same development standards as are required for small collection facilities, but excluding the requirement that they have to be located with a market greater than 30,000 square feet. So that concludes staff's presentation. It's a fairly simple code amendment as we have sort of conceptualized it here. If the Planning Commission reaches an agreement tonight, then the next step will be to schedule a public hearing before the Planning Commission and have staff prepare wording and an actual code amendment for you. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point.
Have we contacted any of the other cities to see what they're doing?
We know that some cities have done pretty much what we're suggesting. Some cities allow them, but other cities have come and said that they're not appropriate unless there's somebody manning them. Another option that has been used is saying that they're only allowed on properties where where the company that's using the drop box is located. That's a long way about saying. So, for example, if Goodwill has a site, they have a parking lot, they can put a drop box on their site.
Okay.
So I think both of those ways have been approved by.
But do they all have to be manned?
In the cases where they're placed on a site where that agency is operating, they do not have to be manned.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Blackburn?
I have a question. Was it brought to your attention by the owners of the property, or was it a citizen, or was it a complaint about the,
I believe it was a
Boxes.
complaint. I tell you the truth, I got most of my information via other city staff members, so it came to other staff members before it came to me. But I believe there was some complaints about the condition.
so that basically goes to code enforcement? Code enforcement will go out and evaluate it, issue a citation, or?
Yes, well, and usually code enforcement will come talk to us first to find out if there's any approvals, if conditions of approval, approvals, requirements. In this case, we determined that no one had even ever asked to have an approval of these kind of things. They just started installing them.
Would that be a surprise to the owners of the property?
I think that, I'm not positive, but it's my understanding that it might have been, in some cases, a surprise to the owner. They didn't know it was there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Castellano?
How many companies are doing this? Do you know, Jeff?
I do not. There was 15 of them in the city, but I think some of them were duplicative. So I guess my wild guess would be there was maybe 10
10,
or
okay.
12 agencies that were involved.
I asked because I was approached to allow one of these in my office, and I don't know if the companies have been reached out to let them know that there's a process for doing this, and not just to go to the business owners without them knowing that it's not okay to just put them there.
Right. Well, as part of our code enforcement action, we contact, most of these have contacts or information, the way to get a hold of them when they were informed. And we did have some contact from some of them asking us some questions after they were informed that they need to remove them.
Okay, good.
So is my understanding is you actually contacted everyone that's out there?
Yes, the city staff has contacted all of them that were out there, and as I said, I believe most, if not all of them, besides the one that's manned, the attended one at Westfield, have been removed.
And have they all responded?
Most of them have.
Okay.
Jeff, I really like the idea both of recycling clothes, and I like the idea of helping people who may not be able to afford to pay for clothing as some of the others of us can. So it really bothers me that we're contemplating doing something that's so strict as to say, no, we're not going to allow it. And I'm wondering if there isn't some way that we can clarify the definition, which I certainly would agree with, as opposed to the ambiguous definition it currently fits under, but that we can charge a fee, which was, I think, mentioned in some of our discussion at one point, so that it's understood that there needs to be oversight of the boxes to keep them clean and keep them orderly. We certainly, I saw one of those pictures that you showed, which appeared to be on a front sidewalk in a commercial area, and that seems not very appropriate. But there seems to me to be some appropriateness if we're careful, and I don't have a clear way of suggesting what that would be, but I just hate to see us take away an opportunity to provide clothing and things for people who might not otherwise be able to get them.
Commissioner Velez?
Yes, excuse me. I was going to ask a question on regards to the cities. Did you contact some of the cities on those drop boxes? Or
We got some information from a few
Okay,
cities.
I wanted to ask a question on that. Do they charge a fee, or do they have a permit? And are they,
Oh, the other cities?
the other cities, are they charging a fee for placing the drop boxes?
I think
or-
a lot of cities, we didn't do a survey like we have done in some of the other situations where we've been working on code amendments, because we kind of thought that this was more simple than maybe some of the past things have been. I don't know if most of the cities that I seem to have come across don't allow it, or they allow it only in those certain specifics. Either it has to be attended, or it has to be one that's on the site of, those are the ones that I'm aware of. Now, if we allow it in either function, either as an attended or a non-attended facility, we can, an administrative use permit is still going to be required, and there's a fee for the administrative use permit. I think if I hear what Commissioner Menifee is referring to, he's not necessarily talking about that fee, he's talking about an annual fee, maybe an annual inspection fee or something to that regard that that requires them to pay so that we can recoup some of staff's time, because they're going to have to go out and look at these things every once in a while. That definitely is something we can look into. It could add to the whole process, you know, because if you have an annual fee, then you probably have to go out there several times a year, and if you have problems, then you've got to address those. So, but that is certainly one way to handle that situation.
Also, too, I was suggesting maybe, along with Commissioner Menifee, is also a permit. They should have come to the city and ask for a permit if they can place those drop boxes.
Yes.
This way you know you keep control of who's dropping a box, who they are, and
Yeah,
where the
it's
sources
at.
are going, yes.
Yes.
Well, I think the things, I didn't mean to interrupt you, excuse me. I think the things that we're talking about here, the use of an administrative use permit, tells the people who are going to place the box there that there are some rules to doing so. You can't just drop a box off somewhere and forget about it. I think the idea of an annual fee would again reinforce to that group that they better take care of things and that someone's going to be checking to make sure that it's taken care of. However, I don't, on the other hand, think that you have to have a code enforcement officer go out every month and take a look at things, because I think our community is aware enough that they will, if they know where to go, they will let you know if something's not being taken care of.
Right. Yeah, and I didn't mean to say that we would have somebody going out there every month.
Yeah.
We would be responding to issues of complaints, yes.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
But it seems to me there may be some middle ground that we need to explore here, and I hope my other fellow commissioners, besides Commissioner Baez, would speak to that or let me know if you differ with that.
My feeling is that they're charitable to begin with, and to charge them a fee, I don't know that I'd like that, because they are charitable, they help the poor and all that. My concern is that when they stack stuff up, how often do they go by and pick the stuff up? And I'd like to see some kind of teeth in it that they go by, they have to go by so often, maybe once a week or whatever it is, to pick that stuff up. Otherwise, you see it just piled up around the boxes. And I've actually seen homeless people going over there, tearing through those boxes and all that, and they're not very good at putting things back in. So it's a matter of policing it. That's my main concern. But I don't know if charging a fee, if you make it too much, then, you know, it's not really charitable, because they're not making any money to begin with on that. So it's kind of a dichotomy. I don't really know what the answer is, but I'm really not necessarily in favor of a fee, but some way of controlling how often they police that to pick it up.
Well, Jeff, have the ones that you've spoken to, are they all charitable, or have some of them been for profit? When I was approached, it was pitched to me as a profit-sharing model.
We didn't do a survey, but of how many were of each type, but we are confident there are some that are for-profit, and some, those ones, they may have a policy where they grant a certain percentage to charitable funds, but it's still, there's a profit being made. There are others, though, that are nonprofit, so I think both exist, but I can't give you a percentage either way.
Yeah, and that's how when I was approached, they told me that I could choose to either donate my percentage to a charitable foundation or keep it. You know, and as far as graffiti, they said they would take care of it, but I declined anyway, so I really didn't get much further than that. So I think that's, you know, maybe if we are considering finding a best solution that works for everyone, we should probably separate the for-profits and or really take a look at, you know, what kind of numbers are involved and
How do they
much
come up with a number? I mean, how do they assess what the value of this stuff is? Most of it's clothing and all that, isn't it? So how do they assess a value saying what was in this bin is worth $50 or $70? I don't understand how they do
My
that.
understanding, and I'm not necessarily an expert on this, but my understanding is that some of these are being delivered to, now I've lost the term, but a store like a Goodwill store. Yeah, but they're not Salvation Army, they're not Goodwill. There are for-profit stores that are very similar to that. They're selling used goods, where they're getting them, however they're getting them, but I think this is one way they're getting them. They're getting those goods, they're taking them to a store and they're selling them, and they're selling them for a profit. Sometimes they may be taking them overseas and doing the same thing. So there are a variety of ways. As Gerald was pointing out, not everybody in the world is as wealthy as most of us are and can go buy our own clothes, and you know, and some people, if it's still in one piece, they'll be happy to have it, and they'll pay $1.50 or something for it. So that's my understanding about one of the reasons why this has become such a popular thing. It's not, you know, the nonprofit, the big nonprofits, you already know the names of those ones. Those are the ones that are doing a lot of that, a lot of the work that we're talking about. I think a lot of these are smaller niche kind of markets where they're for-profit, or they're mostly for-profit.
I can tell you actually that the community hospital used to have what they called a bargain box in Covina, and my wife used to work there as a volunteer. And all these were clothes or furniture or radios or whatever it was that were donated in the back of the facility. And they used to turn over to the hospital between $75,000 and $100,000 a year profit. And I mean, they sold shirts for like $1.50, $3, so there's a lot of volume in that. But that was totally different because everything was brought to that facility and immediately gone through and put out on the, you know, and given back to the hospital. But I don't know how you assess a value, like if they would put something on Castellanos' piece of property and say, well, it was worth $50, so you get 20. I don't know how you assess the value of that.
Well, fortunately, we don't have to worry about that in this circumstance, but my guess is that they have a model, a business model that works, and they know it.
Huh.
And that's, you know, that's, clearly there's a business model that's working. Why we'd have 15 in the city without anybody asking us any questions. So it's working for some people. And
Yeah.
so I understand the concern about the cost, but even a nonprofit, I think, understands that you need to do a cost if you're going to be a good, you know, there should be some cost to repay to be a good neighbor and a good citizen of the city. So I think that's staff's concern. Obviously, at this time in our economic conditions in the city and in the state, you know, we're interested in making sure that we don't overextend ourselves any more than we already are.
Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you give me some idea of what the fee would be that we would charge?
Yeah, administrative use permit right now is $770
$770?
for an application, yes.
Wow.
That's one time.
That's one time, yeah. That's a one-time fee. And then we could, one option that Commissioner Menifee was mentioning was looking into establishing a yearly fee for some type of inspection or something. We'd have to figure out
That'd be
how
in
many
addition
hours.
to?
In addition to. Might not be paid the first year, but it might be paid the years out. We haven't crafted that, so it's hard to.
Yeah, I can't see that many people willing to put that kind of money up. I may be wrong. I don't know. That's quite a bit of money.
But I guess from
maybe that's exactly what you want to do, is determine whether they're serious about the activity of using the donation drop box or not.
And I would emphasize that because it's taken serious staff resources to get to the point we are. We don't want to be doing this every year. It's a drain on staff resources.
I've got one speaker card here, and maybe this gentleman can shed some light on it. Karen Ochoa from Hope Services. Would you like to come up and... Will you please state your name?
My name is Karen Ochoa, and I'm a donation attendant at the West Covina Mall. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. This spring, we began conversation with the good people at the Westfield Mall to try to find a way to enhance the image of people with disabilities and provide an opportunity for them to have gainful employment. Often in the mall environment, people with disabilities are seen in the food court, like passing time. With the unemployment rate of people with disabilities over 80%, Hope Services and Westfield Corporation agreed to a program that could help in both areas. The West Covina Mall donated a space for a donation center and its ground to be used for training in the areas of litter abatement. Hope Services contracted the local Department of Rehabilitation and the Lincoln Training Center and hired 5 people to work for the operation. All 5 people are making minimum wage or higher and have a benefit package. The donation center itself is occupied 7 days a week for 8 hours each day. And the trucks are available for pickups at any time. When stuff is left there, we make a phone call and Hope is there to pick it up. The people who work at the center are friendly and helpful. The presence and the personalities both work to change the image people have of other people with disabilities. Furthermore, the donation center is a convenient way for people to recycle the e-waste household items and clothing. Every weekday at 7:30 a.m., a 3-person crew and a supervisor come and perform litter abatement and in some areas of the shopping mall ground. These actions make the mall cleaner and a more pleasant experience and again allows people to see other people with disabilities contributing to the community and earning a wage. At Hope Services, we are aware of the reputation donation bins have acquired throughout California, dropped in locations without property owners' approval, often by organizations that are not nonprofit, but make no effort to disclose that and left unattended and become an eyesore on the landscape. Many are taking action to eliminate their existence. We ask that the City Council of West Covina view our donation center differently, with complete cooperation from the Westfield Corporation, personnel on site 7 days a week, viable employment for 5 people with disabilities, and a receipt of 2 business licenses from the City of West Covina. We would like the Council to exclude the donation center from discussion of donation bins and the possibilities elimination. Thank you for your time.
Well, I don't know if it's fair to ask you this question, and maybe you're not the right person to ask, but would you be willing to pay the types of fees that we talked about?
Definitely, sir.
You would?
Yeah,
Come on up if you want to speak, please. We're just trying to get a clarification here which way to go.
My name is Manuel Robles.
Okay.
I run the donation collection part of here in Southern California. Hope Services originated up in Northern Cal, and we were approached by Savers Thrift Stores, which is a chain of thrift stores throughout the nation. They got thrift stores all over the United States. They are for a profit company, but what our contract states is that everything that we pick up, they purchase from us. So they buy everything by the pound. So currently we're getting 60 cents a pound for cloth. And also all the miscellaneous items go to them. The price for the cloth is already included with the missile that they get, but we get paid by the pound per cloth. You're wondering how that works. They work with us in any way that we can to make it profitable for our nonprofit. they're more than willing to pay for a fee, like you're mentioning, to have, we have drop boxes also, but we've experienced a lot of problem because of there's so many other for-profit companies that are out there that are just making the nonprofits look bad. And so definitely, we would be more than willing, and actually Savers would pay that fee for us. So it wouldn't even come out of nonprofit. It would be the for-profit company paying for that fee.
Would you accept things other than clothing?
Yeah, we take small household items. The only thing we don't accept is furniture, large appliances, or mattresses, because those are just so, it doesn't make up, because I run a fleet of 17 trucks that go into residential areas to pick up donations. I'm sure you've all seen those mailer cards that come to your house that states that the truck's going to be on your street and picking up donations. So we run those trucks only by one person. The driver is by himself, and he's going up and down the street picking up whatever is out visible for him to pick up. So we can't pick up furniture. It's not cost efficient. It creates a lot of injuries. So, and we get paid by the cloth. So what we want is clothes, shoes, you know, and again, the missile comes as an extra for them.
With this facility you're talking about at Westfield, that would be a manned facility?
Yeah, that was the last one that
That
we
was the
had on
last
there.
one, okay.
And
Anybody
we
have any?
actually have, 3 clients with disabilities that are employed picking up litter in the parking lot and stuff like that for
Okay.
Westfield.
So if somebody did, let's say at nighttime, drop off furniture or things that you don't want, you'd still be taking care of that, would you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We could have a truck there within the 24 hours.
Okay.
We've already had that. We've only actually had one situation where they dropped off a couple of sofas, and we were there the following morning.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of the gentleman before he steps down? None? None? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Well, what's the commission's pleasure?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Blackburn.
I would be against the drop boxes that I have seen that are unmanned. A lot of them are full of donations. A lot of the donations end up on the ground, and again, I don't know if it's from somebody going through the boxes trying to find items and leaving some of them on the ground. I also have seen a couch at a unmanned one. Again, I would be definitely in favor of the type of donation drop boxes that this gentleman's talking about being manned, because I think there is a need, as we talked about earlier. But I am definitely against the unmanned drop boxes because of the blight and so forth. But I would definitely be in favor of the manned drop boxes.
Well, the manned drop boxes would certainly take care of the spillage. So that would take care of that problem right up front. Anyone else?
We used to have a saying in schools, you don't keep the whole class after school just because one kid's acting up. I think if we have a process that requires a fee that gets people's attention and that has caveats attached to it that say, if you don't take care of this, if you don't keep it clean, and it's reported to us, we're going to call you and give you 24 hours to remove it, or something. I'm being specific in my suggestion, but I don't know that that would work. The point is, we could make this thing work by going after those who don't do it right. We've obviously, I think, been involved in a process that has just grown because no one asked the city if it was okay to do so, and therefore thought there was no consequence for not doing so, and found out after the fact that that wasn't the case. So I'm suggesting that we might want to spend a little time looking at a way to make it work, manned and unmanned.
Anyone else? No? My feeling is I kind of go along with Commissioner Blackburn. I think they need to be manned. If you have the unmanned, you still have to get code enforcement involved. Somebody has to go by. Still only have one code enforcement officer, I think, in the city who's over his head with what he needs to do. But somebody's going to have to police it, and that's going to take city maintenance people or something to go by. And if we're going to charge them this fee anyway to get a permit, manned or unmanned, they certainly can probably afford to have somebody there at minimum wage to man these things. And then we don't have to worry about policing it. I mean, that's my feeling.
I'll echo that. I think it's hard to make a decision when you're looking at the prospect of helping the general public. But I think there are enough opportunities and options for residents to donate to the Goodwill Salvation Army or the model at Westfield, which I'd like. And, you know, some of the pictures that I've seen of the problems that could occur, I think that could be minimized by implementing a process and a fee. So hopefully with the available options, that'll be enough for residents to help those in need and you know, still allow certain nonprofits to help all their employees as well as the community.
And the other thing too, this gentleman was speaking, he reminded me, we get a card from the Veterans Association, VA, a couple other organizations that make a run. If you have something you want to donate, you just call them and they stop by. It's usually once a month at least. So I think a lot of people take advantage of that. It's the ones that just want to discard stuff that, you know, they don't know where to go. They see a box and throw it out there. So being redundant, but I'm right now favoring the manned organizations or the manned facilities.
Well, it sounds like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the consensus is to go forward with the items on the board behind me. So if that's the case, then I'll go ahead and begin preparing that and bringing that back to a public hearing for the Planning Commission sometime over the next month or so, probably.
Meet with the commission? Commissioner Menifee?
And we can certainly, I can bring back that, and we can continue the conversation. We may discover some new things between now and then, but clearly we haven't completed the conversation until that motion is made at the public hearing.
Okay, so we're directing you to come back with a full, more.
With a code amendment, with
amendment
code language
report.
that basically
Okay.
addresses the issues behind it.
Do we need to vote on that or just?
It might be best to vote just to direct me, the motion will be to direct me to prepare direct staff to prepare a code amendment as outlined in the
Okay.
staff report.
Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion that we have staff come up with a plan as far as their recommended revisions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Thank you. That brings us to continuation of oral communication. Does anyone else want to speak on anything? No? Okay, brings us to commission reports, comments, and miscellaneous items. This is the time when any member of the commission may bring a matter to the attention of the full commission that is within the scope of duties assigned to the commission. Any item that was considered during the agenda is not appropriate for discussion in this section of the agenda. No commission discussion or action can be considered at this time. If the commission desires to discuss an issue raised by a speaker or take an action, the commission may vote to agendize the matter for a future meeting. Anyone? None. Okay. Brings us to planning director's report.
We have the subcommittee minutes for the October 22nd meeting there for your review. That's all I have to report.
Do we need to vote on that? No, that was subcommittee, right? We don't need to vote on that.
That's right, you don't need to vote, it's just
Okay.
for information's sake.
All right. City council action?
City council action at the, there's a public hearing scheduled for the Warmington homes that were reviewed here last meeting on October 22nd regarding the houses on Lark Elm.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else to report from the previous meeting.
Do we have a date for the next planning commission meeting yet?
There'll be one 2 weeks from tonight. We have items for that, yes.
What date?
It's a good question.
The next,
That would be the 26th, November 26th.
November 26th, okay. Any further questions, or?
I have just a comment. I noticed Bevmo is opening on Friday,
That's
which is a
correct.
nice addition to our city. I also wanted you to know that I'm aware that LA Fitness is going to open on the 21st of this month at their new location along the freeway.
Yes, they're moving forward. They may not make that, but we'll see.
Really?
They
Yeah,
said
they don't have a
before
parking lot in
Thanksgiving.
yet.
They've
so-
announced to everyone that
Okay,
they're-
I've heard the parking lot's going to go in the next couple of
Yeah.
days, but right now it's
Okay.
dirt. It was this morning at
it's
least.
going to be close. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said before Thanksgiving.
And the other issue that I wanted to remind you of, sir, was we were going to talk about fault lines at some future meeting.
Yes, Gerald and I had a conversation about how a study session on fault issues and how those are addressed,
Right.
correct? So, talked about bringing it up here for all the commission to have that knowledge. So we will schedule a study session sometime over the next month or two to kind of go over how that's reviewed for cities and construction.
If there's nothing further, I'm going to make a motion for adjournment. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.